So we're here on Hollywood Boulevard. I'm Daryl Pritchard, and this is...
I'm Greg Donovan. They call me the ambassador. You got to subscribe videos. This is the best. You got to do it. Hollywood as it.
Daryl Pritchard videos.
Daryl Pritchard videos.
Subscribe to us. We need 1,000, yeah?
Subscribe to Daryl Pritchard's videos. We need 1,000 subscribers. That's what our goal is.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay.
Yeah.
Daryl Pritchard videos. Like and subscribe.
Or else.
Thanks, guys.
The artist in other music, television, movies, radio, or stage. There's 5 different categories for which you can be awarded a star. The letters and the emblems reflect the category, like motion picture camera, radio, microphone, things like that.
How you doing?
The stars are engraved with copper and bronze. And this whole tradition started in 1960. Welcome to Las Vegas, sir.
Well, thank you.
How are you?
I want you guys to know this is the first tour since he got out of jail.
Okay. Yeah. It was a long stretch, about 12 years. But anyway, I'm back today, a special request. So anyway, the history of the sidewalk, it's typically now called the Walk of Shame. Originally it was called the Walk of Fame. And what's happened over the last few years, I don't want to get into names, but some of the celebrities, I'll just say this, it kind of started with Charlie Chaplin many, many years ago, okay? His was a very controversial star because of bad behavior. And so now over the years, it's turned out that a lot of the celebrities had skeletons in their car, which were overlooked, politics to get your name on the sidewalk. Nowadays, it's not so easy, and any celebrity that gets their name on the sidewalk has to pay $55,000. And you cannot buy a star. They're not for sale. You do have to be vetted or, go through protocol to get one, including a background check, okay? To make sure there's no skeletons in the closet. But originally it was called the Walk of Fame, and technically it still is. And it began in 1960 when about 200 celebrities, including none other than the 40th President of the United States, the former Governor of California, and movie star Ronald Reagan, was awarded a star back in the old days. And of course he's passed away. He's from Illinois, but he was the first president ever elected to have a star on the sidewalk. Anybody know who the second was?
Donald Trump.
Thank you, Donald Trump. And you might say, how did he get a star? He had a hit politics, right? But he had a hit TV show, The Apprentice, okay? And it was nominated for Emmys almost every year. Never won, but it leveraged him into a star here on the sidewalk. And then coming up over here on the left is the world-famous Dolby Theater, originally named the Kodak Theater. It cost about $100 million we're missing?
Yeah, they did show us.
Okay. All right, well, we're right here on the boulevard covering ground. Over here on the left.
Give them like 4 more minutes. I'm sorry for the delay.
Okay.
We'll give them 3.5. 3.5.
All right. Over here on the left is the, well, welcome aboard, the family in the back. Where are you from?
Portugal.
Portugal, all right, welcome.
And Argentina.
And Argentina, welcome. Anywhere else? All right. Here's the El Capitan Theater. This is Disney. And if you notice, the stars on the sidewalk here are mostly Disney characters. Not all of them, but Mark Hamill, Peter Pan, those kind. Here's an outlook. We'll see the Hollywood sign better later in the tour, but you can see right through here the Hollywood sign. It's one of the Hollywood outlooks.
Will Smith must have smacked another person.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a very common sound in Hollywood, sirens, helicopters, very typical here in Hollywood. The movie Italian Job, over here on the left, this is the subway station where they drive the Mini Coopers down into the subway, okay. Remember?
Yeah.
I believe it was Ed Norton Jr. and Charlize Theron, both Oscar winners. Italian Job was there. And then this bank building I might have mentioned already, the First National Bank of Hollywood, is the home of the movie Ghostbusters parts of it.
Go for an hour.
And then there's a Hollywood Museum that's full of Marilyn Monroe exhibits. Marilyn only lived to be 36 years old. She died August 3rd, 1962. 36 years old. But what memorabilia there is of Marilyn Monroe, a lot of it's at the Hollywood Museum. Here's Hollywood High School on the left. If you look up here, these are all former high school students. Judy Garland, Liz Taylor, Brandon Lee, those kind. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Go pick up 2 people.
Yes, I heard from Waleed. Thank you. Well, we got 2 more late arrivals. You know what happened? I think everyone's hearing about the YouTube video in progress here. And I think everybody wants to get on the YouTube. Judy Garland.
You might see yourself.
Cher Bono. You know who went to high school here? Sharon Tate, murdered by the Manson family.
Wow.
And Louis Bugliosi, the prosecutor of the Charles Manson family for the LADA. Mm-hmm.
Say hello.
Hello.
Where are you from?
Portugal?
Portugal.
Yeah.
You're on. Oh, we've done it.
In Cook County, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know all about Cook County. Yeah. Governor Ryan, Governor Bogdanovich, Jesse Jackson Jr. Quite a reputation there for politics, right? Anyway, welcome, ladies. We were just speaking about a few locations right here on Hollywood Boulevard when you join us. Another one right up here on the right is the famous Chinese Theater. Right across the street on the right, 1927, the first movie ever shot, or excuse me, played there was The King of Kings by Cecil B. DeMille. Mm-hmm. That's launched the career and history of the Chinese Theater up there on the right. All right, this is Hollywood Boulevard West. Right here on the left is the historic Roosevelt Hotel, the oldest hotel in Hollywood history, named after the 26th President of the United States, Teddy Theodore Roosevelt. And it has big reputation, being the first Academy Awards were there back in 1928, 1 year after it opened. And it also has a big reputation of being haunted. Woo! And the most frequently seen ghost, if you will, at the Roosevelt Hotel is none other than Marilyn Monroe. But Marilyn did not die there. She died over on 5th and Alena in Brentwood. But she lived there often. She loved the hotel, and her friendly ghost haunts the hotel. And they even have a Marilyn Monroe mirror where people swear when they gaze into it and they see her image. Mm-hmm. And Frank Sinatra actually lived there quite often as well. It's a very historic hotel. There's still a lot of conventions and events out there. So the Roosevelt Hotel is definitely a nice place for you to visit. You know, go in for a little coffee or tea, whatever you like. But don't spend the night. It's haunted. Just kidding.
We are staying there.
I was just kidding around.
We were invited.
Yeah, Marilyn invited you, right? Yes, I know.
Not Marilyn, but someone.
Yes, I mean,
Otherwise, we don't.
Yeah. But I didn't know it was haunted back then. That's before I was a tour driver. Do you like it?
Yeah.
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 You know, sometimes they show like drive-in movies out at the pool with like Marilyn Monroe. I don't know if they're doing that lately, but you know, over the years I've gone in there for coffee, tea, and lunch occasionally. And in the evening they show movies out by the pool. All the Liz Taylor, like Cleopatra, and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes for like Marilyn Monroe. Movies like that. Okay, now this is famous Sunset Boulevard, known as 77 Sunset Strip. And the nickname comes from State Road 77, and it's the popular strip, like from here to the ocean. In the old days, there were poinsettia trees everywhere here. This was called the Hollywoods. And then they eventually cut a swath of trees out, made a strip to the ocean, and that's how the name arose, 77 Sunset Strip. You know, just take State Road 77, use the strip to get to the beach. So welcome to Sunset Boulevard. Motley Crue, the rock and roll band, made the Seventh Veil Strip Club famous on the left, called Seventh Veil, when they featured it in their MTV music video, Girls, Girls, Girls. And Motley Crue, you know, Tommy Lee and the Baywatch Babe, Pam Anderson. They're very, very famous, and of course, they still go there occasionally to celebrate the history of the Seventh Veil. And then up next on the right is the Guitar Center. It's a famous tourist attraction. Over the years, a lot of legends in music have done meet and greets here and had their handprints immortalized in the wet cement. The Beach Boys, you know, all these famous recording artists, this is a big spot for them. Bruce Springsteen, Jackson Brown, Elvis Presley, you know. Over the years, the Guitar Center's accumulated a lot of memorabilia, and it's free to visit, okay? It is a popular tourist attraction. Next coming up on the left is Platinum Transportation, where you can rent Rolls Royces, Lamborghinis, Teslas, whatever you like overnight. Rolls Royces come in at about $1,200 a day, you know, 24-hour interval, over there on the left, all right? Platinum Transportation. They will also get you a yacht from Marina Del Rey or a private jet from the Bob Hope Burbank Airport, okay? Anybody need a private jet today? Okay. Well, they're the ones to see. Go see them. West towards West Hollywood. Avenue, and Fairfax is West Hollywood. And the climate changes a little bit in West Hollywood. There's far more clubs. This block or two, all we really had was the Seventh Veil. There's much denser population of clubs up ahead. But on Fairfax and Wilshire, notorious B.I.G., Biggie Small, was murdered back in 1997. And nobody was ever arrested in his death. And it's believed he was killed in retaliation for the death of Tupac Shakur in 1996 on Carval and Flamingo. And nobody was ever arrested in that murder either. So it sounds like one of those things they say in Vegas and Hollywood, what happens here stays here. Have you heard that expression?
Yeah.
Yes. And it's quite true in Las Vegas and here. You saw how low the tide is in Lake Mead in Las Vegas because of the drought, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know how many bodies they've discovered?
About 5.
Yeah, they're not all buried in the desert. A lot of them are submerged in Lake Mead in Vegas, okay? What do they say when the tide goes out? You can see everybody that's swimming naked, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe that one's been discovered. I think we would know about it. But the tide's still falling, so, you know, maybe he's way down there. Yeah? Now, coming up next on the right is the Laugh Factory, opened in 1979. Jim Carrey, Kevin Hart were discovered here, and many more. And it's open every night. I already saw driving by this morning, Dane Cook's here tonight. He's a fairly famous movie star. And there it is, the Laugh Factory. I believe the show starts every night at 8. And then next coming up on the right, by Crescent Heights up here, is a nightclub called Hyde, which originally started right there. You see that black door right there on the right? I know the history of this place. That was a private club. Paris Hilton, Nicole Richie, Hillary Duff, those kind. That was private club, Hyde. Then it opened at the it closed here, and then it opened at the Bellagio Hotel in Vegas, and now they reopened it to the public right here on the right on Sunset Boulevard, right down from its old location, right Hyde, H-Y-D. That's a very famous old club in Hollywood history. And also old in Hollywood history on the right here is Chateau Marmont Hotel. You should all come visit this one. This is where John Belushi died. Johnny Depp's a regular here. Lana Del Rey has Chateau Marmont tattooed on her arm. You know, the famous recording artist. That's hot. And Demi Moore learned how to pole dance up here on the left at the Body Shop for her role in the movie Striptease. Starring Burt Reynolds. Standard Hotel here on the left is from movies like The Green Hornet, Ocean's 11. Carney's Restaurant, the train car on the right is from the movie The Entourage, starring Jeremy Piven. The Saddle Ranch here on the right is seen as episodes of Desperate Housewives, Sex and the City. Sunset Tower Hotel, another big one right here. Old famous hotel like the Roosevelt and Chateau Marmont. That's a big celebrity hangout. Next coming up on the right, the Comedy Store. Right here. More live stand-up comedy. Eddie Murphy, Whoopi Goldberg, Richard Pryor, all famous there. Live shows every night like the Laugh Factory. Next coming up on the left, the One Hotel. This one's a big contemporary hotel. This is the biggest, freshest, newest in Hollywood history right over here on the left. One Hotel. It's 2 blocks long on the left. It's all one hotel property on the left. Next coming up on the right, Mel's Diner from the TV series called Happy Days, starring Penny Marshall, Ron Howard, and Henry Winkler as Fonzie. Hey, that'll be up on the right. And then just after the Mel's Diner, anybody familiar with the real estate reality show Selling Sunset?
No.
On Netflix? It got real popular. It's called the Oppenheim Group. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I noticed this season, everybody's been asking about it, so might as well get to know it now. But here on the right is Mel's Diner. And Oppenheim Group will be coming up next on the left. Over there on the left, Oppenheim. This is Sunset Plaza. You know, kind of fairly popular in the evening. Sidewalk cafes, little shopping. You know. It's pretty busy over there on the right now. And then coming up next, you got the big London Hotel, 5-star gray one on the horizon there. Kim Kardashian flower bomb there. Lupita's Oscar gown stolen from there. Chef Gordon Ramsay from Hell's Kitchen used to have a restaurant on the penthouse there. In London behind the Regina Hall billboard up there. And you know, we're getting closer now to Beverly Hills. We're about halfway through West Hollywood.
A question, during the tour we will have any stop?
No stops. Well, we stop, but we don't get out.
Yeah, but why do we stop, you know?
Why do we don't stop?
Where do you stop the truck to some pictures?
We'd only stop a little bit. I explained right before you all got in that the police are very strict about stopping in the traffic, especially tour vans, because they know we're sightseeing, and other people are very aggressive. They've warned tour drivers repeatedly. I've been doing this for 12 years. I don't need to be warned to keep moving. Do not obstruct any traffic. That is a big no-no. They want us to keep moving. Just like they say, go with everybody. Go, 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 go. You know, see? And we do. Or they enforce it. Now here on the left is the Viper Room. This is the little rock and roll club that Johnny Depp used to own, and the Chili Peppers and the Pussycat Dolls got famous there. And then one night in 1993 at Johnny's Halloween party, the movie star named River Phoenix did die there. He was nominated for an Oscar for the movie Stand By Me. And then next on the right, the world famous Whiskey A Go-Go Rock and Roll Club. Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Van Halen, you name it. This is where they all got famous. Still open every night. And then farther up the street is going to be the Roxy, which is more famous rock and roll. Bruce Springsteen, Blondie, famous from the Roxy and the Whiskey A Go-Go. They're both from New Jersey. Here comes the Roxy. On the right. Try here. Piano keys on the wall. Flats and sharps. Here's the Rainbow Bar and Grill. This is probably one of the most famous restaurants in the world. All the rock stars that showed up here have to carve their name in a brick, you see? And the bricks speak for themselves. Elvis, Bob Dylan, Johnny Cash, Janis Joplin, Freddie Mercury, you see. And there's more bricks. This is not all of them. All the legends have been here in the history of rock and roll. And it's closed at the moment, but it'll be open later today. And guess what? All the rock stars still hang out here. Nothing's changed. Not at all. They're here all the time, still. The ones that survive. Here comes the One Oak Hip Hop Club. This one has been closed for a while. It's on the right. It's a pretty high dollar club over here. This one, but it's been closed. There's other One Oaks on the right. There's one in New York. There was one in Vegas. I'm not sure. Some of them have closed, like that one closed. What happened is they were it's a small venue, but they were hosting really popular artists like Nicki Minaj or someone. So table and bottle service was like $5,000 or $10,000 for a couple. You understand? Yeah. And you know, it just at that level, you know, this is the second most populated metro in America. But you know, I don't know if there's enough people who attend those shows at $10,000 a couple. I don't know. I've never been to one, but that's what I heard. So most of the One Oaks, I hear rumors they're not open much anymore, and that one has not been open for a while. Okay. So here comes Sierra Tower, a tall condo before we arrive in Beverly Hills. Sierra Tower is popular celebrity condominium, and people like Ellen DeGeneres has lived there, and Justin Bieber, Joan Collins, many others. You know, it's like a stayover if you can't find a mansion or something within reason or something. You might just live up here. Many others. Cher Bono, I believe, even Elton John. Lower Steakhouse on the left is where Michael Jackson had his last meal. Alright, the party's over. Welcome to Beverly Hills, California. We made it. There's a Beverly Hills sign on the right, welcoming us into the wealthy city. And it's old-fashioned here, it's old money. This is older than Hollywood. Most of the money made here originally was from oil, precious metal, Wall Street, you know, traditional businesses, distribution, food, oil, you know. Celebrities are just a small part of the history of Beverly Hills. You know, Hollywood happens to be a neighbor, but Beverly Hills was here first, okay? All right, so let's explore Beverly Hills. Sunset Boulevard in Beverly Hills, California. Famous zip code 90210. Red light cameras going on. You see the blinking? Everything, including speed, is monitored by sensors and video. Next one coming on the right is a retired movie producer director called Jack Harris. He has a star on the sidewalk, but he's in his 80s. But this huge estate on the right is Jack Harris. He did horror movies, specifically The Blob, The Thing, The Eyes of Laura Mars. Made many horror movies, 2 or 3, 4 a year, and that made the studios a lot of money. Little Shirley Temple, first child star in the history of motion pictures, used to live right here on the right. She was discovered at the Roosevelt Hotel back in 1930. She became the first child star in Hollywood history. And there's a big palace coming up that used to belong to Shaquille O'Neal briefly. He played for the Los Angeles Lakers. I heard it was sold for $74 million. He departed after he retired. He was going to stay on, I believe, to be in the front office with the Lakers. But he instead he went to another franchise, maybe Atlanta or Sacramento in the NBA. But here it is on the right, about $74 million estate, right there. Coming up next on the left, former home of Judy Garland, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, Oscar winner at the age of 16 back in 1939. That's her former home. Tragically, she died of a drug overdose at the age of only 47. Her daughter's an Oscar winner, Liza Minnelli, and her former husband, Vincent Minnelli, also Oscar winner. Here on the right with the silver donut, the former home of Gigi and Bella Hadid, the influencers, the supermodels. Their father, Mohammed, I believe, sold it for $85 million recently. And then next comes the most famous hotel in the world, which you're all invited to. It's the Beverly Hills Hotel. More high rollers, celebrities, heads of states, billionaires, probably from here than any other hotel in the world. Pink Palace, it's called. Hotel California by the Eagles. This one's legend, and you're all invited. I said it twice for reinforcement. There's the front yard, courtyard of the Beverly Hills Hotel on the left, now known as Will Rogers Park. Beverly Hills to venture into Holmby Hills just a little bit. And I got some homes there to show you on a popular neighborhood, Montevale. Ladera, and Carrollwood are the three streets. Now, right along the edge here on Sunset Boulevard is the house where Michael Jackson died on the right, on Carrollwood Drive. The date was June the 25th, 2009. Michael was 50 years old from Gary, Indiana. This property was being rented for him by his production company called AEG. The rent was, I believe, $125,000 a month. And this is where he died. It's called Carrollwood Drive. There's the main gates. Here's the mailbox. The street sign, Carrollwood, is here. This is the official address where the King of Pop died, right there, Carrollwood Drive. Okay? Now we're turning right. Hi! Good morning. Here's the property on the right. It's huge. Huge estate. It's this one right here on the right. In fact, the bedroom where he died, it's kind of hard to see because we have a top on. It's not hard to see anyway. It's just above the garage here, right here on the right. This is the big estate. That was many years ago, 2009, but still very infamous. And then next over here on the left is the former home of the King of Rock, Elvis Presley. Right over here from Tupelo, Mississippi. Now it is true, Elvis died at Graceland in Memphis, many years before, back in, I guess, 77. But he was living at this beautiful property part-time. He owned it. He was in the middle of making movies here. And he took a trip back to Graceland, and the King of Rock never returned. And then it was sold to Telly Savalas. And that's why later up here you'll see some Buddhists. Because he was a Greek Buddhist. But you can say a beautiful estate. King of Rock, King of Pop. Right across the street from each other. Anybody remember what else they had in common? Elvis's daughter. Michael married her. Interesting. This is all former Elvis Presley estate, all the way down the street. This one on the right was Frank Sinatra's. Another legend in music. Can you imagine? Really? Frank Sinatra, right here on the right. I believe this is when he was married to Mia Farrow. From Rosemary's Baby, the movie star. Mm-hmm. And then this one on the left is a Hilton estate, Hilton family. I believe Paris and Nikki Hilton grew up here. They're both married now, right there on the left. Hilton. I know for sure. I saw Paris Hilton there before, years gone by. And actually, Ladera here is where Bugsy Siegel was murdered. He wasn't murdered in Vegas. The Gangster, Flamingo Hotel. Oh, Ladera. There's Ladera. See, it's a street right here. Ladera Drive. There's Hollywood and Beverly Hills on the other side. And there you can see the Beverly Hills sign right there. So this was just one block out of Beverly Hills. Sunset Boulevard. Okay, so we're going to proceed back a little bit here towards the east. We'll see the Beverly Hills Hotel again briefly on the left, and then we're going to take a right, which is to the south, and join Beverly Drive, and then go explore the metro, which is a pretty small metro. Be aware that one of the whole standards of Beverly Hills is low density. It's a very underpopulated city, deliberately so, to make the quality of life higher. There's no high density in Beverly Hills. It doesn't exist. The downtown is relatively modest. Low density, all this green space, you see, is part of the popularity of Beverly Hills. Privacy, seclusion. And they have their own police, their own judges, and their own courthouse. So people here are very well protected. Crime rate here is basically zero. They don't really have clubs, such things. Here is one more time the Pink Palace, the Beverly Hills Hotel. Be coming up on the left. There it is. You've all been invited to come here, so I hope you make it. Okay? Right across the street on the left. And then we'll be passing next by the front courtyard, the Will Rogers Memorial Park. This is a beautiful place to walk around. I mean, the hotel's beautiful, but there's a lot of statues and koi ponds and duck ponds here, wishing wells. You know, people just come. They don't even go to the hotel sometimes. They just come to the courtyard and like meditate here. Like I said, you know, Los Angeles is very high density. Beverly Hills is the total opposite. It's like the lowest density you can find in Los Angeles. That's part of the appeal. Now, George Michaels, remember the pop star from Wham? Remember he was arrested in the men's room for a little hanky-panky? It was right over here on the left, this building. That's the men's and the ladies' room. He got caught in the men's room. That's where George went down, no pun intended. Now check this out. Like every road in Beverly Hills converges here at the Beverly Hills Hotel. I mean, I don't know if that's a coincidence, but I think it's meaningful. And in all directions from Beverly Hills, you end up right here at the Beverly Hills Hotel. So, I mean, it is the center of the Beverly Hills universe. This is Beverly Drive. Nowadays, this is like a modest neighborhood. You could call it middle class, average Joe. Here's a property value for you on the right. The one with the Nitro Jeep just sold for over $5 million. Beverly Hills police are very nice. I want to make sure we get that on video. But they really are. They, you know, they're reasonable. But what the issue is, you can't act like you do in Hollywood here in Beverly Hills. That's all. You know, people come from Hollywood all juiced up. You see what goes on in Hollywood, all this partying and, you know, stuff. It's just not tolerated out here. So the police are very reasonable, but if you're going to act like people do in Hollywood, you're not going to last long out here, okay? They're very nice. The courts are very nice here. And the people are very friendly. It's just, you know, they're a little more conservative, and peace is very important to their culture. So they like to keep things peaceful, not rowdy. There's no really there's no like strip clubs going on here at night, you know. No bars open to 2 a.m., that sort of thing. You understand. It's a very exclusive place to live. But it doesn't mean they don't have their average Joe places. They've got Sharky's restaurant coming up on the right. They got the Cheesecake Factory coming up on the left. They got the Starbucks up here on the left. You might have saw we just passed Buffalo Wings and Fat Burgers, you know. So, I mean, it's really not all glammed out. There's a few sections that are, but most are pretty average Joe places. And we see celebrities frequently, right out here on the sidewalks, driving on the streets, you know. So they're on the about. It's their turn. Okay, now we're approaching downtown. You can see the buildings are getting quite a bit bigger here briefly. And coming up on the right, there's going to be a restaurant. There's more than one Avra. I saw some in Manhattan recently. On the right, it's pretty popular with the white umbrellas. Right here. This one's hot. And then on the left, the Hotel Montage. I believe President Obama, former President Obama, has stayed there before. And then right here is Wilshire Boulevard. Now this is downtown Beverly Hills. Downtown. And you can notice, you know, most downtowns are a little rundown, okay? But not in Beverly Hills. And this is not a young downtown. This city's been here 100 years more. But you can see everything's well groomed here. This is a city of class and high standards, of course. That's why it's so famous. A pretty woman walking down the street right here on the left, the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. This is Richard Gere, Julia Roberts, Jason Alexander. 1991, the movie Pretty Woman on location right here on the left. Gary Marshall, the producer. I mean, you're certainly welcome to visit this one. You can visit all of them if you have the time. There it is. And who wants to go shopping? Welcome to Rodeo Drive. Sometimes pronounced Rodeo Drive. Coming up on the left is a boutique called the House of Bijan, black and yellow. It's believed to be the most expensive boutique in the world. It's menswear. Legend is the House of Bijan. There's Mr. Bijan's drop-top $1 million yellow Rolls Royce out in front of his yellow boutique. This is the boutique featured in the movie The Billionaires Boys Club. And some of the men that have visited this store and got complimentary silk suits are former presidents like Ronald Reagan, Jimmy Carter, Barack Obama. I mean, almost every single president when they're in Southern California. It's like protocol. You come here and get the most exclusive suit you will ever wear, complimentary, from Mr. Nicholas Bijan, B-I-J-A-N. Okay? Very popular boutique, obviously. Welcome to Santa Monica Boulevard. And I'm sure you're familiar with the Santa Monica Pier down here on the west. If you look farther down on the left, you'll see some gold cones, domes, I should say, with crosses. I can barely see them. But that is the Good Shepherd Catholic Church, where Frank Sinatra's funeral was held, and several other celebrities. And Frank Sinatra died in Beverly Hills, even though he was Hoboken, New Jersey, and I love New York. He spent most of his life here in Beverly Hills, Palm Springs, California, and other. His funeral was held right down here on the left. And of course a lot of park space here on the left. I mean, you can imagine Beverly Hills could develop all this real estate. You see it? Yeah. They'd rather keep it green space. Yeah. Low density. So many parks in Beverly Hills. Keeps the density low. Here's Beverly Gardens Park. Where is another Beverly Hills sign, unlike the one we saw earlier. Next, coming on the right, is the Old Town Hall building, featured in the Beverly Hills Cop movies with Eddie Murphy. And if you look up here ahead on the right, has a crown finished with 14-karat gold on the top. Beverly Hills Cop is there. Everybody doing okay?
Yeah. Really good, yeah.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, we're taking it slow but smooth. You know, I mentioned you can't just stop in traffic when you want to. Best thing is to kind of just troll slowly, kind of try to keep up with the traffic, keep moving, but you know, be able to appreciate the ambiance. here's the Beverly Hills Police Department and Jail on the right. This is a popular home for many celebrities. I'm sure you know about that, right? Lindsay Lohan, Paris Hilton, Zsa Zsa Gabor, George Michaels, Mike Tyson, Winona Ryder. Again, they've all had problems here because they don't realize the law and order aspect of the city. Misbehave, that's all. And you know, when celebrities do, they think they're privileged and can kind of work their way out of it. That just makes it worse. You have to show respect. The Santa Monica Boulevard is part of Route 66 across America. Historic federal highway, sightseeing highway. Right through Beverly Hills and all the way to the Santa Monica Pier. Anybody been to the pier?
Yep.
Very good. Great place. It's the beginning and the end of Route 66. Okay, now here's the threshold out of Beverly Hills into West Hollywood, Santa Monica Boulevard. It's called Doheny Drive, and there's William Doheny's name. He is the founder of Beverly Hills, William Doheny, and he was very wealthy on oil, and he was very connected to President Harding. If you don't know, Harding was a member of the Skull and Bones, remember? At Yale, I believe he was. And Doheny was close to Harding. One thing leads to another, you know. So there's this rich Doheny founding Beverly Hills right out here in Beverly Hills, California. Originally the land here was called Rancho Rodeo. Just a big farm on it. And then when we cross here Doheny Drive, we're going to see the Troubadour Rock and Roll Club. That is where in 1970 Elton John got discovered. If you watch the movie Rocket Man, the Troubadour appears in the movie, in the cinema, right there on the left. Also discovered there the Eagles and Linda Ronstadt and others. Elton probably the most famous found there. And you know, this now is not conservative like Beverly Hills. This is more progressive, liberal. West Hollywood over here has reputation for progressive politics, things. But there's some high-dollar restaurants all around here. Craig, Sir, the Pump here on the right from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Lisa Vanderpump. That one's high dollar. And all through here at night are big street parties. Let me tell you something. You come through here at night, there's Tom Tom on the right, another Lisa Vanderpump on the restaurant. You come through here about 9 or 10 o'clock at night, there's going to be a wall of people like you've never seen on the sidewalks here. And traffic can barely squeeze through here because everybody's rubbernecking. You know what rubbernecking is, right? When they drive by, they can't resist. You see how these pubs, they open up and there's psychedelic lights and music from each pub. There must be 20 or 30 of them. So people just bop from one open air pub to another. There's no cover charge, you know. And so you get all this energy going on out here. It's really amazing. If you really want to see something amazing at night, tonight's Saturday night, it'll be busy out here. It will be. I'd say this is the busiest place you're going to find in Los Angeles tonight. It's just one big street party. There's the Pacific Design Center on the right. That's a big event center over there. See that red glass building? If you come out here to be part of the big street party, make sure you look over there at the Pacific Design Center, because I've discovered many events going around here on the tour at night. The tour is a little different at night. You know, we explore a little more of the clubs and things because they're open. We get around a little more at night this year and a little less sometimes. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar with Jim Morrison. He was discovered at the Whiskey A Go-Go, and a couple years later he was dead at the age of 27, the Forever 27 Club. I believe he died in Paris. And the tourist attraction has developed over here at a little motel where he spent most of his life trying to get famous at the Whiskey A Go-Go. It was walking distance. I already showed you the Whiskey A Go-Go. And he did get famous, but again, died in Paris shortly thereafter. But I know of at least 2 occasions personally from driving the van where Jim Morrison fans have come to this motel and stayed in the room, I believe it's 204, where Jim Morrison lived for a couple of years. And I know one of them showed me the room key. You know, the hanger from the old days. You know, we didn't have sensors. It was really a key in a lock. And you know, when you were in a hotel, it had your room number on a little hanger, like a plastic hanger. And I've seen them. And they said if you stay in the room, which the room's a premium, it's no different than any other room, except it's the one that Jim Morrison used to live in. And they give you a key. Now, one time, I was just curious about this. So when I wasn't on tour, I went to this motel and asked them about the room here. Okay, seriously. And they said, yes, it's Jim Morrison's room. Okay, was. There it is on the left. You see it? And I went there and I said to the desk clerk, she said, but the room Jim Morrison stayed in is a premium to the other rooms. And I said, that's fine, but before I would consider anything, I would like to see the room. And she said, $10 to see it, look inside. And I gave her the $10, and guess what? It's covered with graffiti. We love you, Jim. All this other graffiti is all over the walls. So I guess you just get to go in there and paint whatever you want on the walls. Yeah, go look for yourself. Give her $10. If you're a fan of Jim Morrison, do it. I'm just telling you. I explore things on, you know, sometimes on my own. Because, you know, I drive by there 1,000 times. So I was just sitting at a traffic light, seriously. That light right over there, and I was sitting right at the driveway. You know what? I want to see the room. Or at least I want to talk to the desk clerk. Maybe it's all a hoax. You know, maybe they, you know, it's just, you know how that gets started. You tell one person one thing, and by the time you tell 1,000 other people, it's a totally different story. But anyway, that's called the La Cienega, Alta Cienega Motel, in case you're a big Jim Morrison fan, okay? And if you've been to Paris, you know, after, I guess, the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre Museum with the Mona Lisa and all the art on the roof and walls and things, my understanding is Jim Morrison's grave is the 3rd most popular tourist attraction in Paris. And he only lived to be 27, and he died, I believe, in 1972. So, you know, he was far younger and died far longer ago than Elvis Presley. Elvis made it to, what, 77? He was 42 years old, you know. Morrison was just like a temporary. But he's fondly remembered. Okay, now here soon we're going to be going into these hills to the north, which is called Hollywood Hills. That'll be short. We're heading in that direction now. We have to do a little retracing to get back, you know, to Hollywood to get up into the hills. Again, there's the old Hyde nightclub, that black door on the left. Showed it to you, it's a secret. Directors Guild of America on the right. Spielberg, Tarantino, and all the big directors in Hollywood. This is their guild, and they do have a lot of big red carpet events here. And we've seen a lot of them out here over time. Here's the Griddle on the right. This place is actually famous for the food. You see all the people here? But celebrities will come here because the food is so famous. The Griddle's turned into, you know, made its own name, and, but it's not famous for anything but the food. This hotel and the epic science fiction movie called Species. To head up into Hollywood Hills. Down to the right, you can see Kermit the Frog tipping his hat up there. Now that's the Jim Henson studio, which was once the Charlie's Chaplin studio. United Artists. Here's I'll Be Back, Arnold Schwarzenegger's gym. On the left, the Hollywood gym. You remember Arnie was Mr. Austria and eventually Mr. Universe. Terminator, and the Governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger, now moving up into Hollywood Hills. This on the top there, if you can see, is Runyon Canyon State Sightseeing Park, free to visit on foot. You walk, you don't drive, you can drive up there and park for free, but it's a walking park. The trails and hiking and it's absolutely free. This is called Franklin Avenue. You're turning left here to go in the hills on Outpost Road. Welcome to Outpost Road. Kat Von D, the famous tattoo artist, reality star from LA Inc., used to live right there on the right. She also had a reality show called Miami Inc. She's retired. She got married, had children, and moved to Indiana. Still going strong up here on the left, Bob Barker from The Price is Right. Come on down, Bob. Right there. This is Hollywood Hills, Outpost Road, quiet as a mouse around here. right?
You go around them, and just be careful. Go ahead.
Now, coming up here on the right is Lawrence Fishburne's from The Matrix, What's Love Got to Do with It? Boys in the Hood, right there. He went to Hollywood High School. Coming up on the left from Pittsburgh is Christina Aguilera's former home with the big palm trees. You can see a little bit of pink on it. Now owns a pink home in Beverly Hills up there on the top. And if you know Beverly D'Angelo, she starred in movies with Chevy Chase, like National Lampoon Vacation, Wally World, you know, those movies. I believe she still lives right here on the right. This one with the ivy on the wall. I haven't seen her in a few years, but I just think she's like retired. And the next one I'm going to show you up on the left was Bela Lugosi, the original Dracula. He died in 1973, and let me tell you something. He arranged this house to be Dracula's castle in real life. He did. It's very draconian. I know a lot about the history of this house. I don't have time to go into it right now. But this was the original Dracula, Bela Lugosi. And the family that bought it loves it, just the way it is. It's unique. See the gargoyles and things on the door knockers and the pillars? This place is scary, okay? It is, inside and out. Bela Lugosi embellished in life the role of Dracula. You know, he was even buried in his original Dracula costume from Universal Studios wardrobe department. Now this one coming up on the right, I believe it sold for approximately $3 million. And I used to comment, you see it here on the right? I used to comment about it, but a lot of people have said that's cheap. Yeah, I thought it was on the high side considering all the work that had to be done. It's about $3 million sold. Here on the right, totally secluded. Best Actress of the Year, Charlize Theron, from the movie Monster, from South Africa, down on the right. Okay, welcome to Mulholland Drive. That'll be the next stop, or stop sign. William Mulholland was responsible for water aqueduct leading here to Los Angeles in the old days. Became legendary, and real estate, you know, portrayed as Mulvane in the movies Chinatown with Jack Nicholson, which is all about the water rights, you know. But here it is, Mulholland Drive. That's Runyon Canyon Park to the left. I showed you going up. But here we are, probably the most scenic road in LA. I kind of like Pacific Coast Highway on the ocean. This is a totally different setup. The ocean's at sea level, of course, Pacific Coast Highway. This is roughly about 3,000 feet above the valley. So some famous homes here. Cardi B lives secluded on a little plateau, or a big plateau, beneath street level here. She's from New York. Right here is her new property. This one's relatively new, just a few years old. On the right here. And then the house down there in the gully, there's actually two interesting ones. I don't believe either of them live there anymore. But Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston, before they divorced, lived at that white one with the brown roof down there in the gully. And right up on the top to the left, the one with the flat white roof, I believe was Ice-T and Coco from their hit reality show, Ice Loves Coco. And that house on the cliff there was also in Celebrity Rehab. See the one with the infinity pool in the back roof? That was a reality show they used to shoot there. Here on the left, Eric Murillo used to live, way up on the top. He was a one-hit wonder. I like to move it, I like to move it, from the movie Madagascar, but he's dead. He was recently killed in Miami. Here it is on the right, the epic Hollywood sign all by itself on Mount Lee. We're going to pull over briefly, take a picture here. The history here is that the sign was put up in 1923, roughly 100 years ago, by a real estate company called the Hollywood Land Company. The sign originally was 13 letters, Hollywood Land. It was lit up all night with sparkling light bulbs, but it was exclusively a real estate billboard. Do you understand? The movie theaters and such things did not exist in 1923. This is what, you know, pulled everybody into Hollywood from all the way to New York, Boston, Philadelphia, Chicago, you know. This opened up the West. Before that, people were kind of afraid to come this far across America, you know. But the Hollywood Land sign was so big and beautiful, everything looked civilized. And so people like swarmed out here, including the movies and everybody else. And Hollywood goes viral, okay? It's been compared to the Statue of Liberty in New York City and places like that, the eighth wonder of the world. Now, since then, the word land has been removed, the lights are gone. You know, this thing was only supposed to last a couple years until the real estate was sold, and then it would be obsolete. But the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce stepped up, making big money from all the, you know, visitors and real estate and other business transactions here. A real city was born, and that's the history of the sign. Do not look for it at night, okay? It's dark. If you want to get closer to the sign, there's a neighborhood over there, Beechwood Canyon. If you notice below Mount Lee, that's the name of the mountain. You cannot scale the front of the mountain. The letters were brought up the back, up the north side, face south. But you can go to Beechwood Canyon. I'll show you how to get there. It takes about 15 minutes, and you can get to the bottom of Mount Lee and take pictures, okay? This is the official lookout for the tour vans, because we're not allowed in Beechwood Canyon. The neighbors have consistently complained, and the police have enforced no tour van signs there, okay? Now also, I do want to share with you, up here on the left is the Griffith Observatory. The round white buildings with the gray cones on the top, the very famous planetarium, scientific museum. It's been featured in the movies like La La Land. It's free to visit. It's also in the Transformers, many others. Oprah Winfrey just had a big party there at the observatory. And it's also a good place to see the Hollywood sign. But Beechwood Canyon, I think, is actually closer. And you can like explore a little more the bottom of the mountain on Beechwood Canyon. See another look at the sign, just a little closer. The sign was never meant to be seen up close. You have to understand. It was meant to be seen from far away. You know, it was a real estate billboard. You know, and look, do not think you can go up the mountain. I've already told you, there's no human life there at all. They can't even hardly fix the sign. They have to go up the back, and it's a big mess up there. You know, it's just, it was never meant. That was not the kind of place, you know, to put a visitor-friendly sign. But again, it wasn't meant to be, you know, this iconic message. It was meant to be, you know, a message that lasted temporarily. Here's a look into downtown. The views are much better here in the afternoon. If you notice, I waited till the end of the tour to even come up here, because as the day passes, it'll clear up. the heat from the sun will pierce through all this fog and smog. But there is downtown on the road. I'll show you how to get to Beechwood Canyon. Some people want to get closer to the lake. I don't blame you, but this is actually a pretty good picture up here. It takes about 15 minutes. Now here's the 101 freeway. This is infamous for the O.J. Simpson slow speed chase, remember? O.J. Simpson in the Ford Bronco, white Ford Bronco. He led police on about a 30-mile-an-hour chase. You know, one of those slow speed that are now so popular. I don't know if you see it in the news. Now a lot of people do a slow speed chase. That was created by none other than O.J. Simpson, who was acquitted for the murder of his wife Nicole Simpson Brown and Ron Goldman. He was acquitted, but it's frequently called the O.J. Simpson murders, despite his acquittal. Now next up, we've got iconic music at the Hollywood Bowl. That'll be coming up on the right. Last night was a legend. I want to say Gladys Knight, but I could be wrong. But it was someone like Gladys Knight. You know, someone like Tony Bennett, you know, historic artist at the Hollywood Bowl. It usually is. The Beatles' first live concert in America was held at the Hollywood Bowl. That was by their own demand. And Gwen Stefani was just live here about a week ago. Steely Dan, Ricky Martin from Menudo, the boy band, BTS, you know, the Korean pop band, performs here frequently. You know, the biggest acts in the world perform live at the Hollywood Bowl, and we'll be passing it on the right. See who's here tonight. See, they even have signs warning you not to try to drive through here at night because it's gridlocked. So up to 20,000 people converge into this open-air arena on the Hollywood. Diana Ross, what did I tell you? You see the kind of people perform live here? I'm not kidding around. This is the most famous, you know, it's a big claim to make. I call it the Beverly Hills Hotel, the most famous hotel in the world, and I'm calling this the most famous music arena in the world. Okay? That's the kind of people. Night after night. All right, now we're going to roll back into Hollywood. Okay, to get closer to the Hollywood sign, Beechwood Drive, Beechwood Canyon, the traffic signal next coming here is Franklin Avenue. You would take a left here at Franklin, which is east, and you would turn left at Beechwood, which is north. It's really simple. Right here at this traffic signal is Franklin. It's one block from Hollywood Boulevard. It's parallel to Hollywood Boulevard. So, you know, pretty easy to find. Right here, Franklin. And I'd say it takes you 15 minutes. So, you want better pictures of the Hollywood sign? Voila. Franklin, east to Beechwood, north, left. That's it. And there'll be a lot of other people there, you know, taking pictures. It's pretty common, but not for tour vans. You know, it's taboo. The police, motorcycle police sees you there. It's a, you know, it's a guaranteed ticket. I used to go there years ago. It wasn't forbidden. So now it is. For some people, you know what? I've had people been to Beechwood Drive, and during the tour, they take the tour, and they say they like it up on Mulholland Drive better. So you can't win. Whichever one you go to, it's not enough. We'll be back to Hollywood Boulevard in about 5 minutes. Always a little bit of traffic right here. All right, here's the church from the movie Sister Act starring Whoopi Goldberg. First Methodist Church of Hollywood. Here's Lowe's Hotel coming up here in front of us. This is not particularly famous, but it is walking distance from our tour. And it is a popular hotel. Of course, Lowe's brand on the left, Whoopi Goldberg, Sister Act on the right. And in the Magic Castle, very popular private club, the Magic Castle. You know, this is the old Lane Mansion. It's quite got a reputation of its own. Kind of a dark history up there. Harry Houdini and others, seances, and Daredevil, magic, you know. So the Magic Castle's there on the right. It is a bit of a legend. It's a private club here in Hollywood. And this, you know, the Chinese Theater, I'm going to show you. I might have already showed you. This mansion was built by the same guy, Sig Grauman. He'd never even been to China, but his fiancée had. She was born there. So when he came to Hollywood, he built everything Chinese architecture. And if you go to the Chinese Theater, you see scribbled all over the concrete, "Sid." Like, thank you, opinions, for your tip gratuity. There is the famous Chinese Theater we briefly covered on the way out. Okay? So we have made it back safely. Thank you all for coming. And go back to the famous places I showed you. And if you have any questions about anything, just ask me here after the tour. Okay? Now we have time to dialogue. Most of the tour is a narrative, of course. So thank you. Welcome back to famous Hollywood. Sincerely yours, George W., your driver and guide.